Today we're talking about Tilta's NATO rail accessories. We'll cover the NATO rail standard and 13 accessories. This video is not sponsored. I paid for this gear with my own money. NATO rail, sometimes called NATO accessory rail, is a rail system developed by the U.S. military to mount accessories onto firearms. However, some variation of this system is used in the camera industry to mount accessories onto cameras. Tilta makes an 18mm and 36mm NATO rail attachment. Each has two safety pins and attaches to one's cage via two 1/4-20 screws with flathead tie-downs. NATO rails are often integrated into cage designs as well. Tilta's full camera cage for Sony FX3, FX30 V2 has one on the top plate and one on the left side. The multifunctional NATO mounting plate is a variation on the traditional NATO rail. It includes a cold shoe receiver with 1/4-20 locating thread, 3/16 male to 1/4-20 female thread adapter with 4 locating points, along with the traditional NATO rail and safety pin design. The multifunctional NATO mounting plate can attach to the top or side of a cage using two 1/4-20 screws with flathead tie-downs. The NATO version Xeno top handle has a NATO receiver on the bottom that can be slid onto a NATO rail and locked down. On the front, it has a 3/16 male to 1/4-20 female thread adapter with 4 locating points. On the back, it has a steel reinforced 1/4-20 with 4 locating points. On the top, it has a 3/16 with 2 locating points, two 1/4-20s with 2 locating points, and a cold shoe receiver with safety pin. On the left side, there is the cold shoe receiver safety pin release button. I should also note that the Xeno top handle has 3 other non-NATO versions. The NATO version Xeno side handle has a NATO receiver that can be slid onto a NATO rail and locked down. It can be used as a right or left side handle by removing these 2 bolts with a 3mm hex tool and flipping the handle's orientation. Further, by loosening these 2 bolts and not removing them, one can shift the handle up and down. For the right hand positioning, on the front there is a NATO receiver tie down. On the back there is a 1/4-20 with 2 locating points. On the top there is a steel reinforced 1/4-20 with 4 locating points and a cold shoe receiver. On the bottom there is a 3mm hex tool and steel reinforced 1/4-20 with 2 locating points. My 2 critiques for the Xeno side handle are: 1, I wish it could rotate forward and backward like some of Tilta's other side handles, and 2, I would like to see strap eyelets on each side of the handle to attach a wrist strap to either side. I should also note that the Xeno side handle has 2 other non-NATO versions. The left side NATO extension attachment has a locking NATO receiver on one side and a NATO rail with removable safety screw on the other. In addition, the NATO rail has a 1/4-20 with 4 locating points and 2 1/4-20s with 1 locating point. It can be used to extend out a left side handle or other NATO accessory. I found that it can just as easily be used as a right side NATO extension if one moves the safety screw to the other side of the NATO rail. A 2mm hex tool is not included, so one will need to purchase that separately. Next, we have the accessory mounting bracket dual NATO with locking receivers. It has a 360-degree pan axis and a 170-degree tilt axis, where the pan and tilt tension are simultaneously controlled by the adjustment knob. However, further, less fine-grained tension adjustments can be made with a 3mm hex tool. The top controls the pan axis and the side controls the tilt axis. I would primarily use the accessory mounting bracket for attaching a monitor package that is less than 2 kilograms or 4.4 pounds. Tilta makes 3 other variants of this tool. The multifunctional NATO mounting bracket has a locking NATO receiver on the bottom, cold shoe receiver with 1/4-20 locating thread on the top, left, and right. Further, it has a 3/16 with 4 locating points on the front and a 1/4-20 with 4 locating points on the back. The multifunctional NATO mounting bracket can help mount multiple lightweight accessories to one's camera rig with a 2 kilogram or 4.4 pound weight capacity. Following this, we have the NATO clamp to cold shoe adapter. It has a locking NATO receiver on the bottom and a cold shoe with safety pin on the top. I find this accessory very useful for mounting camera top microphones. The NATO accessory mounting adapter has a locking NATO receiver on the bottom, quarter 20 with 4 locating points, and a 3/16 with 3 locating points on the top, and a quarter 20 with 2 locating points on the front. The NATO Accessory mounting adapter has a 3 kilogram or 6.6 pound weight capacity. It is great for mounting something like an RE-style 3/16 inch top handle. The NATO to Rosette adapter has a locking NATO receiver on one side and a Rosette on the other. The center thread is M61 and can be mounted on the Rosette side with the included flathead screw. But more likely, one will remove the screw and mount on the NATO side and attach a Rosette accessory like a side handle. The 15mm rod holder to NATO adapter has a NATO receiver on one side and a 15mm rod holder on the front. Interestingly, the locking mechanism is combined for the NATO receiver and the rod holder. So first one inserts the 15mm rod, second one mounts accessory onto the NATO rail and then locks it down. I do wish the 15mm rod holder to NATO adapter had an independent locking mechanism, but otherwise it's a great option to attach a lens control unit. Last we have the 15mm rod holder to NATO rail attachment. It has a NATO rail with safety pin on one side and locking 15mm rod holder on the other. On the NATO rail side, it has a quarter 20 with 4 locating points and a single quarter 20 with 1 locating point. If you got value from this video, please like. If you want more content on camera accessories, please subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. Thanks for watching, and goodbye for now.